In the IELTS speaking test, how would you answer the question, how often do you watch TV? These days, people don't necessarily watch traditional TV, so you might find it difficult to know what to say. In this episode, I'm going to cover multiple ways that you can adapt your answer to reflect your own situation and therefore give a more interesting answer in the exam. Hi, my name's Vic and this is episode 13 of the IELTS with Vic podcast. If you want a free copy of the podcast transcript, just head over to my IELTS blog to request it. The link is in the show notes. Let's get stuck into today's question then. How often do you watch TV? I think we can consider two angles to this question. TV is short for television and refers to the physical item of a television set. However, people also use TV as shorthand to refer to television channels, television shows, or programmes which are broadcast on a schedule. When I was younger, it was really common for people to buy a weekly or fortnightly TV magazine, which contained all of the scheduled listings for the different channels, so that people could plan what they wanted to watch. This seems like such an old-fashioned thing to me now, but I know that some people in my country still do this, particularly the older generations. How about in your country? Do many people still watch traditional style TV? And how common is it for people to buy TV magazines? Personally, I rarely use a television set. I do most of my watching on a laptop and occasionally either on a tablet or my phone. Regarding what I watch, it's mostly movies and series accessed via subscription streaming services. These services offer on-demand streaming rather than the traditional model of having to wait for your show to be broadcast at a particular time. I'm sure plenty of you will be familiar with services such as Netflix and Amazon Prime, for example. In English, we talk about having a subscription to this type of service. So you can say, I have a subscription to Netflix, for example, or I've got a subscription to Amazon Prime. Saying I have or I've got means the same thing, so they're both fine. Personally, I find on-demand streaming suits me better. I can bookmark things I want to watch by adding them to the My List or Watch List function within the app. I'm never really sure when I'm going to watch TV, so it's more convenient for me to use streaming services. I don't like the idea of having to plan around a traditional TV schedule. How about you? Do you watch traditional TV or do you prefer streaming services? And if so, which ones? I'm aware that we've covered lots of TV-related vocabulary so far, so let's have a quick reminder of today's question. It's how often do you watch TV? So we definitely need to make a concrete reference to frequency in order to fully complete the task. Some useful phrases related to frequency include every day, every weekend, every few days, twice a week, occasionally, rarely, from time to time, now and then. If we want to modify some of these phrases further, we can add roughly, approximately, or about. We use these with phrases such as every few days or twice a week, such as roughly every few days, approximately twice a week, about 3 times a week. Some of you may be familiar with the idiom once in a blue moon. It means not very often. If you don't watch much TV at all, you could consider using this phrase in your answer. For example, I only watch TV once in a blue moon. I don't watch TV much at all these days. It's really only once in a blue moon. If you wanted to, you could say what times of the day you generally watch TV and for how long. For example, I watch TV almost every day as a way of relaxing after work. I tend to watch TV for about 2 hours in the evening. I only watch TV once a week on a Sunday afternoon. My favourite show is on and it lasts about 50 minutes. We could expand this answer a little by including something about where we watch and with whom. For example, I watch TV almost every day as a way of relaxing after work. I tend to watch TV for about 2 hours in the evening, sitting in the living room with my family. I watch TV every evening with my girlfriend. We sit together watching our favourite series, sometimes for hours at a time. An alternative example might be, I don't watch TV, but I watch Netflix on my laptop every evening before I go to bed. I tend to watch a couple of episodes of a series before I fall asleep. At this point, it's worth mentioning the word series, as this is something I have often heard misused. Series is a countable noun in English, but it needs that final S, even when we're talking about one. The plural form is identical to the singular form, series, so that's one TV series or 2 TV series. The spelling and pronunciation remain the same, so please don't accidentally remove the final S on this word. Returning to the question, if you are someone who doesn't watch any form of TV these days, you can still find something to say by comparing the present with the past, using one of the following phrases. These days, I never watch TV, but when I was younger... ... At the moment, I rarely watch TV, but several years ago... ... Currently, I don't watch TV, but in the past I used to... ... Remember, the purpose of answering this question is to demonstrate your English ability to the examiner. So we want to build a bigger answer than simply saying, I don't watch TV. You could use one of those example sentence beginnings I just mentioned and then go on to tell the examiner something about how often you used to watch TV in the past. As a reminder, we use used to talk about past habits, with an assumption that something changed. For example, if I said, I used to go swimming 5 times a week, you can assume that it was my habit in the past, but that I no longer do this. If you want to, you could expand your answer by mentioning why you don't currently watch TV. Some reasons might be related to time constraints, or perhaps personal preferences. Perhaps you have other hobbies or interests that you prefer to do. For example, I never watch TV these days because I'm involved in a lot of different sports activities that take up most of my spare time. I prefer to be active and involved in these hobbies rather than watching TV. To summarise then, you definitely need to mention the frequency of watching TV, but you could also mention what type of TV or streaming service you use, what time of day you like to watch, and how long you watch for. Alternatively, if you don't watch TV, you could either compare the present with the past, or tell the examiner what you do instead of watching TV. Now that we're coming to the end of this episode, I highly recommend taking a few minutes to create your own personal answer to the question, how often do you watch TV? If you like, you can post your answer in the comments, and then I can give you some feedback on it. So go ahead. Tell us in the comments how often you watch TV. Thanks for joining me today, and don't forget, if you want a free copy of the podcast transcript, then head over to my IELTS blog and fill in the form. See you next episode for more phrases and tips to level up your IELTS speaking test score and achieve your English learning goals. Thanks for listening and have a great day.